How are you, my dear students? Good morning to all of you. In today's class, I am going to discuss the final phase of the electrochemistry. That is, cells or batteries. There are two types of batteries, dry cells and the other cells are called wet cells, may be rechargeable. Dry cells are use and throw. Rechargeable batteries are continuous use. For example, consider cell batteries. It is a rechargeable battery. In our daily life, we come across some inverters in household purpose. They are rechargeable batteries. When current goes off, the battery supplies electricity. When current comes, the battery will be recharged. Likewise, two types of batteries are there. So one is disposable, the other one is not disposable. Look at one by one. So two cells, non-rechargeable, generally called dry cells. These are used in clocks and some remote controls of ACs. We use them and just we throw it away. There is no chance of rechargeable. So they are called dry cells. The second cells are rechargeable batteries. First, I discuss dry cells. Dry cell is named as a Leclanche cell. Is an example. That is Leclanche cell is an example. Leclanche cell EMF is 1.5 volt. This Leclanche cell, which is available in our daily life. For example, if you take remote, in remotes we use pen cells. AA batteries, likewise different types of there available in the market. So in that we can observe a cylindrical like this. The battery will be appearing like this. That is cylinder, a small cylinder that is made of zinc tin, and actually it is made of zinc metal. And the electrolyte in it is ammonium chloride paste along with some zinc chloride and some carbon powder, because there should be some electrolyte, right? And manganese dioxide, a black powder will be there in that small battery, and that manganese dioxide, it is a black powder. When battery is completely exhausted, if you break it, you find some black powder. That black powder is manganese dioxide. That manganese dioxide acts as cathode. This zinc tin acts as anode. And at anode, you know very well, always oxidation takes place. So zinc tin loses electrons and zinc ions are formed. And this is the anodic reaction, which is oxidation. At cathode, manganese dioxide black powder is there. The black powder undergoes reduction with the help of ammonium ion. Ammonium ion comes from the ammonium chloride paste. This ammonium ion acts as acid H+. And by taking electrons, this MnO2 changes into MnOOH thrice. MnO2 has oxidation state +4. MnOOH thrice has oxidation state +3. This process of +4 to +3 is reduction. The process of zinc to Zn+2 is oxidation. So at one end, loss of electrons, at the other end, gain of electrons. So these two combination leads to the liberation of the electron. So the overall reaction will be like this. Zinc anodic reaction. The loss of electron should be equal to the gain of electrons in any cell. So 2 electrons lost. Therefore, here it is multiplied with 2. Therefore, this equation is multiplied with 2. Electrons get cancelled. Overall reaction will be like this. Zinc metal plus 2 moles of manganese dioxide plus 2 moles of ammonia, and finally zinc +2 and MnOOH thrice, and ammonia is formed. And this ammonia finally reacts with Zn+2 to form this complex. This reaction is called a secondary reaction. Why? Because In this reaction, no redox. It is not a redox reaction. Electricity is always generated from the redox reaction. So this redox reaction generates electricity of how much? Nearly 2 farads. Its EMF is always equal to 1.5 volt. You can observe on battery, on cell, if you see the EMF, it has 1.5 volt. So it has 1.5 volt. This is a secondary reaction. As a result, the exhausted battery gets leakage. That leakage is nothing but this zinc ammonium ion. Finally, some liquid is coming out after complete use of battery. If it is not removed from the cell, that is especially from the devices, the liquid will be oozing out. That liquid is this. So this is a secondary reaction. This does not produce any electricity, but this causes damage to the electronic devices if the cell is continuously placed there without replacing it. This is just a primary cell. Look at the second example. The second example is called button cell. This cell is widely used in the wristwatches. A small cell will be like this, which is in the almost round shape. In button cell, anode and cathode work as a zinc and mercuric oxide respectively. Look at anode is zinc metal. That means a round vessel is there. That vessel is nothing but zinc metal. In that cathode is mercuric oxide. That is also paste-like substance, mercuric oxide. Electrolyte will be there. That electrolyte is KOH. These are all the three substances present in that small button cell. Now, the principle is same. This is actual reaction. Zinc reacts with mercuric oxide to form zinc oxide and mercury. Zinc is oxidized to Zn+2 and mercuric oxide is reduced to mercury. Mercuric oxide has +2 oxidation state, changes to 0, 0 to +2. So this is a redox reaction. This redox reaction produces EMF. That EMF value is 1.35 volts for this. If you examine the voltage over the button cell, it is 1.35 volt. Because based on the half cells, the electrode potential is fixed. You know very well, the total EMF of the cell is SRP of cathode minus SRP of anode. Here zinc acts as a anode, mercuric oxide acts as a cathode. Now look at this. Zinc changes to Zn+2 plus 2 electron. This is the simple way. But actually, electrolyte reacts. This zinc reacts with electrolyte, OH minus, to form zinc hydroxide. And the 2 electrons are lost. That means Zn+2 and OH minus together. Or you may write like this. This OH minus 2 hydroxide groups are present on the zinc. It liberates as water molecule, just like carbon having 2 OH groups can liberate as water molecule. Therefore, zinc oxide will be there, and with the elimination of water and 2 electrons. And at cathode, always reduction takes place. I told you many times, mercuric oxide takes 2 electrons along with some water to balance this reaction to form mercury and 2 hydroxide ions. So by adding these 2 hydroxide ions get cancelled like this, and electrons cancel here. That is 2 electrons cancel here, and finally what forms? That is water molecules also get cancelled here. So finally zinc plus mercuric oxide changes to zinc oxide and mercury. This is the principle in the button cell. In the examination, the question is which acts as anode and which acts as cathode. What type of total redox reaction may taking place? This is a simple zinc anode, mercuric oxide cathode. This is the total reaction. This is a second example. Its EMF value is 1.35, which is less than the EMF of Leclanche cell, the previous example. This is the second example. This is also use and throw. Once the battery stops, we remove the battery. We remove that. Once the watch stops, we remove the battery, and once again another battery will be replaced. Hence, they are called replaceable batteries, non-rechargeable batteries. So we have seen the 2 non-rechargeable batteries, button cell and Leclanche cell. Now we have to observe another one, that is rechargeable battery. This is called lead storage battery in the market. This battery is widely used in the society. Car batteries, scooter batteries, inverter batteries. These are all rechargeable batteries. So this is one of the very important battery available in the market called lead storage battery. That's why battery is very heavier. We can't lift it with simple hands, a big battery, because lead is a heavy metal. In this, the anode is spongy lead, a soft lead is there. The cathode is lead peroxide. Lead peroxide, it is also a black powder, but wrongly named as lead peroxide. It is called lead dioxide, in which the oxidation state of lead is +4. You know very well, in lead, fourth group is there. In fourth group, lead has two oxidation states, +2 and +4. That is a variable oxidation state. So here, look at one by one. This is called lead storage battery, also named as a rechargeable battery, used in the inverters and car batteries, etc., scooter battery, etc. The anode is spongy lead, a soft lead, spongy lead. Cathode is a lead peroxide, and wrongly named as lead peroxide, but actually it is a lead dioxide having oxidation number 4. The electrolyte is 38% sulfuric acid. The percentage is very important because such a density should be maintained in the battery, right? At anode, lead, spongy lead, undergoes oxidation into lead +2 and +2 electrons. And after that, this lead +2 reacts with sulfate ion to form lead sulfate precipitate. Actually, lead metal does not react with sulfuric acid. That is an important point to be understood. That's why sulfuric acid is added always in the batteries. If sulfuric acid directly reacts with lead metal, by the addition of sulfuric acid, the battery dissolves. So lead does not react with sulfuric acid. That is the important point. Hence, it is called lead storage battery. So here Pb +2 plus sulfate ion changes to PbSO4. This is not a redox reaction. This is just a precipitation reaction. So this is ancillary reaction. Next, this is called anode. Oxidation takes place. At cathode, the liberated electrons are being absorbed by this. PbO2, lead dioxide, having what oxidation state +4. That H plus comes from sulfuric acid, and by taking 2 electrons, it forms Pb +2 and water molecules. This Pb +2, wherever it is there, immediately reacts with sulfate ion to form lead sulfate. That means in the entire lead storage battery, finally lead is changing into lead sulfate. That means the precipitate will occur at the that is battery, that is at the surface of the battery. So this is the case. This is called reduction. This is called oxidation. Overall addition of reaction, these two reactions should be added. Reaction 1 and reaction 2 should be added. And by adding 1 and 2, we'll get this Pb plus PbO2 plus 4H plus, and electrons get cancelled to form, that is a 2PbSO4. So this is the case. This is the 4H plus means nothing but 2 moles of sulfuric acid. So altogether, this is the reaction. Or simply, we may represent like this: Pb metal plus PbO2 plus 2H2SO4 gives a PbSO4 and H2. Finally, what is happening here? The sulfuric acid pH value gradually increases. Why? Because H plus ion converts into water. So finally, what happens to the sulfuric acid? It consumes, and during this reaction, the water is forming. So what happens to the gravity of the sulfuric acid? It decreases. That means the density of sulfuric acid decreases. The reason is sulfuric acid is converting into water. So it becomes dilute. So 38% sulfuric acid may get dilute. So this is called discharge. For each value, its EMF is 2 Faraday. That is why in batteries, 6 plates are arranged to produce 12 volts battery. To produce 6 volts battery, 3 plates are arranged. To produce 24 volts battery, nearly 12 plates are arranged. Each plate, that means each compartment of this type of battery produces 2 Faraday. Likewise, 6 compartments will be there to produce 12 volts battery. For example, to start a car, it needs 12 volts battery. To start a scooter, it needs only 6 volts battery. Depending upon that, the number of compartments can be framed. Therefore, this value is coming under multiples. So depending upon the volume and battery amount, this value changes. So this is only a lead storage battery, right? It is a reversible battery. During discharge, the current is producing. How much is producing? 2 Faraday. So water is consumed. Once charging is applied, the reaction comes in the reverse direction. Look at this. This is anodic reaction during discharge. If it is charging, the backward reaction starts. If this backward reaction starts, this is called reduction. Therefore, it becomes cathode. It becomes cathode. So I'll tell you once again. During discharge, this is anode reaction. During charging, this is cathodic reaction. Lead storage battery produces electricity. In such a case, oxidation reduction takes place at sponge lead oxidation and PbO2 reduction. While charging, the process differs. Look at this, the completely opposite. During charging, Pb plus 2 changes to Pb. So this acts as cathode. Why? Because reduction takes place. While discharging, the backward reaction takes place. Hence it is called anode. While charging, this reaction takes place. Hence it is cathode. Now examine this, you can understand. While discharging, we have written this equation. While charging, the backward reaction is written. Therefore, here loss of electron takes place, hence it is called anode. So during discharging, anode, while charging, it becomes cathode, and vice versa. So that's why we have written like this. And this is the process during charging. Pb plus 2 plus water changes to Pb plus PbO2 plus H plus. And if you examine the backward reaction, that is discharging. So this is the final reaction, 2PbSO4 plus 2H2O, Pb plus PbSO2 plus 2H2SO4. Try to recall, this reaction is producing electricity, this reaction is charging, this reaction is discharging, backward reaction is discharging, forward reaction is charging. So this is another important point. We have seen 3 examples. Now look at the 4th example. The 4th example is called nickel cadmium battery. This is widely used in our, that is especially cell phones, nickel cadmium battery. Longevity battery, more number of times it can be recharged and it can be used. When compared to lead storage battery, it has a long life. So look at this example. It is written as cadmium nickel battery. In this, cadmium acts as anode, that means loss of electrons. Cathode is a nickel hydroxide paste, nickel hydroxide, and electrolyte is OH minus. That is there because it is hydroxide. And now at anode, oxidation always takes place. CD changes to CD plus 2 electrons. So here 2 Faradays of current is there. Why? Nothing but 2 electrons. Now this lost electron reacts with the nickel hydroxide, which acts as a cathode. At cathode always reduction takes place. Nickel hydroxide plus 2 electrons and changes to NiOH twice and 2OH minus. If you examine this, this is the oxidation state with the plus 3 charge. This is with the plus 2. So this is a reduction process. And overall reaction can be written like this. Cadmium plus 2 moles of nickel hydroxide, because electrons get cancelled, changes to cadmium oxide. And finally, nickel hydroxide plus water molecule. So this is nickel cadmium battery. During the usage of this, the battery swells because of the formation of this water molecule in that. That is, swelling is due to the formation of liquid in it. This is one more example. For any battery, to calculate the cell efficiency, it can be calculated with the help of this. delta G naught by delta H naught into 100. This is a general word. It can be applied for fuel cells also, for ordinary cells also. So look at this. Delta G naught is nothing but Gibbs energy. Gibbs energy is the amount of energy that is the amount of work that is carried by the cell. So delta G naught by delta H naught. Percentage of efficiency. So 100. So NFE naught by delta H naught. This is better applicable for fuel cells. I'll tell you one next example. So this is the general method of calculation of efficiency of the cells. Delta G naught by delta H naught, where NFE naught and delta H naught. Delta H is exothermic minus NFE naught, and both cancel. That's why I have not written the minus charges here. Right. This is another example that is called fuel cell. Fuel cells are used in the rockets because during the launching of rocket, it should contain less weight of substance and it should produce energy also in the fuel cells. The importance of fuel cells is during this burning of the cell, it produces current along with the evolution of water. That water is being utilized by the astronauts. Look at this example. This is the simple way of representation of the fuel cell. Hydrogen acts as a fuel because if it is burnt, it produces heat. That heat is utilized in fuel purpose. And this should be electrolyte. So in any fuel cell or any cell, electrolyte should be there because it acts as anode, it acts as cathode. Electrons should move. Electrons on their own, they never move. They are with some electrolyte. KOH is used as electrolyte. Or you can use NaOH also. Look at this. Hydrogen reacts with 4OH minus, which is supplied from the electrolyte and undergoes oxidation to form water molecule along with the liberation of 4 electrons. So 4 Faradays. Now, oxygen reacts with electrons and water molecule to form hydroxide ion. Therefore, oxygen gets reduced, hydrogen gets oxidized to water, and oxygen is reduced to hydroxide ion. By the combination of these two, 2H2 plus oxygen produces 2H2O. Here, definitely, it is an exothermic process. This we learned into the thermodynamics. Burning of hydrogen is exothermic. Hence, it can be used as fuel. So, fuel cells is also the principle of redox reaction. It is also one kind of battery. This water that is coming out there is utilized for astronauts for drinking purpose. So, here, delta H is equal to negative and delta G is equal to negative. Based on this, efficiency can be calculated. The maximum efficiency that is produced by the fuel cell is 70%. And I told you just in a few minutes back, the calculation of fuel efficiency is delta G naught by delta H naught. Right? This is one more example. Likewise, you can construct so many fuels. This is also fuel, methane fuel cell. This is hydrogen fuel cell. This is used in the rockets, but this is not used. Why? Because if this is burnt, it produces carbon dioxide, which is not helpful in the rockets. But in ordinary condition, this fuel cell can be used. This fuel cell can be used. Methane undergoes burning to form carbon dioxide and water. Likewise, the reaction comes. Look at one more example. C2H5 and KOH. And here with oxygen. This is also ethyl alcohol. This principle is used in checking drunken drivers. Drunken drivers are given with a device. They exhale. Whenever they drink some alcohol, the police will examine the particular boozer, particular drunken people, and they ask the people to exhale. When they exhale, some ethyl alcohol comes. That ethyl alcohol is going into the device. In that device, oxygen is there. And ethyl alcohol burns with oxygen. And during this burning, what happens? Electron transfer takes place. The electron transfer comes through a wire and a green bulb glows. This is the principle involved in the especially testing drunken drivers. So ethyl alcohol acts as a fuel. and oxygen is used as burning. Therefore, this acts as anode, this acts as cathode. But in general purpose, this electrolyte should not be used. Why? Because once carbon dioxide is formed, this KOH will combine with carbon dioxide to form K2CO3. But I have given as a general example. So whenever hydrocarbons are used in the fuel cells, the KOH should not be used as electrolyte. Instead, some acid electrolyte can be used. Because carbon dioxide is acidic in nature, that acid does not react with the electrolyte. Otherwise, what happens? The liberated carbon dioxide reacts with electrolyte, and K2CO3, a solidified mass will be there. Once it gets solidification, there is no chance of any type of conduction. This is another example, but not given in the book. In next case, rusting. This is the reverse process of the extraction of the metal. Rusting is oxidation process, loss of electrons. In rusting also, electrochemical principle is involved. One acts as anode, the other one acts as cathode. So look at this example. This process is called corrosion. Metal changes to M plus ion is called corrosion. Iron changes to Fe+2. Silver changes to Ag+. Of course, silver changes to Ag+ is not corrosion. It is called tarnishing. Small change in the metal to metal ion is called tarnishing. The big change is called generally corrosion. Gold gets tarnished, silver is tarnished, lead is tarnished, iron is rusted. Likewise, some literature is used. Look at this, iron loses electrons. It acts as anode. Its SRP value is minus 0.44, less SRP. And this lost electron should be gained by something. Around iron, some water molecules and some oxygen is there. That's why here some oxygen is given. And some acid medium should be there. That means acid medium, where this acid medium comes, you may get doubt. In nature, carbonic acid is there. Because carbon dioxide combines with water, carbonic acid is forming. That carbonic acid has H+. That H+ is utilized here. So oxygen is surrounded by the iron metal along with H+, and electrons are taken by this. Where these electrons are coming? From iron. So iron acts as anode and oxygen acts as cathode in presence of acid medium and to form water molecule. The overall reaction is nothing but cell reaction. This cell reaction, therefore rusting is also a cell reaction. So here Fe plus 2 moles of iron and 1 mole of oxygen, 4 moles of H+, and to form 2Fe plus 2 plus water. And this Fe plus 2 doesn't remain as a static substance because it needs some electrons. So, or some oxygen. So, never the ions individually exist. Fe plus 2 reacts with oxygen along with the water molecule to form Fe2O3 XH2O. This is actual rusting. Fe2O3 XH2O is rusting process. That is called a red color process. So once again, this is nothing but a redox reaction, nothing but cell principle. So what is the total EMF of this rusting? This is. You can calculate the EMF of rusting, SRP of cathode minus SRP of anode. So EMF will be calculated like this. EMF is equal to SRP of cathode minus SRP of anode. What is cathode here? This is anode. This is cathode. So what value is there? 1.23 minus of minus 0.44 volt. Therefore, altogether its value is 1.67 volts. You get doubt. Sir, if this is multiplied with 2, is it necessary to multiply this? No need at all. Because standard SRP values never changes with the multiplying this. Even though it is 2 moles, the SRP remains same. The SRP remains same. If you have any doubt, please go through the previous videos. Where is delta G and E naughts are compared, then their electrons should be considered. So this is the, for rusting, what is the EMF? 1.6 volts. The same principle. So entire electrochemistry, especially EMF calculations are nothing but SRP of cathode minus SRP of anode. This is a rusting. I think it is clear. And finally, I would like to discuss a miscellaneous point. Based on the Nernst equation, it is possible to draw graphs. See the Nernst equation. E is equal to E naught minus 0.059 by N into log K. This can be written as y-axis, and this is C minus mx, where log K can be written as on the x-axis. This is a slope with a negative, and this is intersection on the y-axis. So the graph will be like this. So with a negative slope. If Nernst equation is written like this, E is equal to E naught plus 0.059 by N into log 1 by K. If you write log 1 by K, the slope becomes positive. So based on this, try to understand it can be just like a straight line equation, y is equal to mx minus c and y is equal to mx plus c. Finally, the term galvanization you come across in the electrochemistry. Galvanization means prevention of rusting by using other metal. Iron is galvanized by zinc. That means if iron metal is there, say for example, if iron sheet is there, this iron sheet in nature gets rusting easily. But commercially it is used because of cheaper nature. To avoid its rusting, it is coated with the zinc metal. So coated with the zinc metal. And this is iron sheet or iron, whatever it may be. Why? Because this zinc metal acts as sacrificing metal. Why? Because zinc metal SRP is low and higher iron SRP is high. Lower SRP1 acts as anode, therefore it has lower SRP, whereas iron has higher SRP. So if lower SRP metal is coated over the higher SRP metal, then the lower SRP metal saves the higher SRP metal by sacrificing itself. By sacrificing means anodic dissolution. Anodic dissolution means rusting. Instead of iron, zinc gets rusting easily. That means look at this process. Iron gets rusting. During rusting, iron changes into Fe+2, we have seen now. To prevent this Fe+2, we apply zinc here. Now what happens? Zinc loses electrons, to which iron. So iron changes, Fe+2 changes into iron and zinc changes into Zn+2. So this is the process. But zinc does not react with water easily. But this is the process. So zinc prevents the rusting of iron. Zinc prevents the rusting of iron. Why? Because Fe+2 changes to Fe and Zn sacrifices. This is called sacrificing metal. This is one of the important metal. This is the principle, right? In sometimes, especially in the underground, in the sea water, iron pipelines are used to send the oils from almost thousands of kilometers of iron pipelines are used. So this is the iron pipelines. These iron pipelines are that is surrounded by magnesium ribbon. Magnesium ribbon. This is the pipeline that is oil or water it may be. In underground pipelines, these iron pipelines are made, and that iron pipelines are surrounded by magnesium ribbon. Tell me, magnesium has lower SRP and iron has higher SRP. So here, magnesium loses electrons. So what happens there? Magnesium plus iron plus 2 changes to Mg+2 and iron. So the prevention of rusting is there. If iron changes into Fe+2, Fe+2 is now converted into iron. That means almost rusting is prevented. How? By making small magnesium ribbons. So these are called sacrificing metals. Sacrificing metals, right? Tell me now. In the iron industry, we are getting iron extraction. In that iron, zinc impurities are present. Is it correct to keep the zinc impurities in the iron metal or not? If zinc impurities are kept in iron metal, it is enough because iron doesn't rust. So impurities of zinc should not be removed from the iron because we are selling iron in the large amount. The impurities of zinc will be there. What happens there? The same principle is applied here. Zinc will act as a sacrificing metal, and iron, rusting of iron is prevented. Therefore, zinc impurity is present in the iron metal, cannot be removed. Cannot be removed, right? So that is the principles involved in some galvanization process. This is called galvanization process. Prevention of one metal by using another metal, that can be done by lower SRP metal. The prevention can be done to the higher SRP metal.